Of course, everybody knows that today is the day that they call Christmas, and we're going to start right there with our first article. And we're going to go into tonight. This comes off of endoftheamericandream.com. The name of the article is "The Pope Says That Christmas is a Charade and that for some people it may be their last." This is on December 22nd, 2015. It says, Pope Francis sure does say a lot of strange things. I don't think that any other pope throughout history has ever called Christmas a charade or has suggested that many people this Christmas may be their last. What in the world would cause Pope Francis to adopt such an ominous tone? Without a doubt, the leader of the largest religious organization in the entire world would be privy to information that would not be available to ordinary people like you and I. Could it be possible that he is aware of something that is coming that is going to dramatically change life on this planet? What we do know is that our world is becoming increasingly unstable. World War III threatens to erupt in the Middle East at any time. The number of terror attacks around the globe continues to increase. Earthquake activity continues to rise. Giant cracks are opening up in the ground all over the world, and we are rapidly plunging into a brand new global financial crisis. There is certainly a lot to be concerned about, but what would make the Pope so glum that he would actually call Christmas a charade? One of the primary reasons why the Pope is so down is all of the war that is going on all over the planet right now. It was in the context of talking about the war that he made this recent statement about Christmas being a charade. It says here in quotes, Pope Francis has declared in a sermon that Christmas this year will be a charade because this whole world is at war. The pontiff's speech at the Vatican came after terrorist attacks in France claimed the lives of 129 people. A Russian plane was bombed, and dozens of people were killed in a double suicide attack in Lebanon. Speaking during Mass at the Casa Santa Maria, he said, "We are close to Christmas. There will be lights, there will be parties, bright trees, even nativity scenes, all decked out while the world continues to wage war. It's all a charade. The world has not understood the way of peace. The whole world is at war." And what he has said is actually true. War and civil conflict are breaking out all over the planet, and all of this violence threatens to spiral out of control as we head into 2016. On another occasion, Pope Francis even went so far as to suggest that we have now entered a third world war. And this is in quotes. Even today, after the second failure of another world war, perhaps one can speak of a third war, one fought piecemeal with crimes, massacres, destruction. So has World War III begun? I don't know that I would go that far, but I believe that we are certainly on the road toward it. The recent statements from Pope Francis that I have already shared with you are bizarre enough, but then just a few days ago, he added this whopper to the list. Another quote here says, the pontiff who turned 79 on Thursday elaborated on his views this weekend, telling a crowd, while the world starves, burns, and descends further into chaos, we should realize that this year's Christmas celebrations for those who choose to celebrate it may be their last. What in the world did he mean by that? Precisely who was he talking about when he said that it may be their last Christmas? The statement can be taken a lot of different ways, and it has raised a lot of eyebrows. Of course, this is just the most recent example of this Pope doing and saying some very unusual things. Just consider what we have seen over the past couple of years. These are some articles here that are mentioned within this article. It says, Pope Francis declares that Christian fundamentalism is a sickness. Second article. In New York, Pope Francis embraced Chrislam and laid a foundation for a one-world religion. The third, in fiery speeches, Pope Francis excoriates global capitalism. The fourth, Pope Francis calls for a new global political authority to save humanity. Number 5, the Pope's embrace of evolution brings us one step closer to a one-world religion. And the last article, Pope Francis and uh, Simon Perez discussed the establishment of a United Nations of Religions. This pope has been unlike any pope that we have ever seen before. He has been consistently doing and saying things that would be regarded as crazy if any other religious leader did or said them. But because he is a pope, he gets away with it. Meanwhile, other prominent voices around the planet are also issuing apocalyptic warnings these days. For instance, tech guru Elon Musk believes that World War III could erupt at any time. Says World War III could erupt at any time and the effects could be devastating. That's the warning from top technology boss Elon Musk. The billionaire businessman whose companies include Tesla Motors and SpaceX believes a number of factors, including the growth of religious extremism, could trigger a third world war. Musk believes that in the future the world could find itself locked in a nuclear war, far worse than anything that's happened before. And I believe that Musk is right about that. Personally, I am completely convinced that we are eventually heading toward a third world war, and I believe that it will fundamentally change life on this planet. So what is the solution? Well, Musk believes that we need to consider traveling to Mars while there is still time. Quote, mankind may only have a brief window to set foot on Mars before a disaster such as a third world war makes it no longer possible. Elon Musk has warned, the founder of SpaceX, which was the first private company to resupply the International Space Station, fears such a war could set back technological advancements. His company is preparing to announce its ambitious plans for rocket and spacecraft technology to carry humans to the Red Planet. To Musk, a colony on Mars would make perfect sense. He believes that it would give us the best chance to survive as a species if life on this planet was totally wiped out. Another quote, speaking in an interview with GQ, he said such a mission may be important to help ensure the long-term survival of mankind. In particular, he believes a Martian colony could help to ensure humanity survives if there is ever a calamity on Earth that destroys life here. You back up your hard drive, maybe we should back up life too, he said. If life is so great and everything is under control, then why are world leaders like Elon Musk and Pope Francis so seemingly obsessed with apocalyptic scenarios? Could it be possible that everything is not really under control? The truth, of course, is that most of us have a gut feeling that big trouble is on the horizon. Many of us may not know exactly what that trouble will consist of, and we may not be able to put our feelings into words. But deep inside, most of us understand that the future is not bright. It says here, so what should we do? Is there anything that can be done? Is it inevitable that humanity is facing a future of chaos and war? Well, to get the answer to that question, we would simply go back to Matthew chapter 24. And when you go to Matthew 24 and we read verse 6, it says, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. So all of these things that Christ spoke of and warned us prophetically, we would see in the last days before he came back to earth, are happening right now. And as we take a look around, it's only increasing. And the Bible compares it to the birth pangs of a woman before she gives birth, that the contractions increase and the pains get, harder, heavier, faster. And, you look at, every time you look up, there's a new war. There's a new rumor of a new war that's breaking out. You have nation against nation. You have one ethnic race of people fighting against another ethnic race of people. When you look in the news, you see all of these things being promoted, black on white, white on black. Everything is about causing and creating division. Put one group of people and belief system against another group of people. Kingdom against kingdom. You have, Russia versus Turkey, America versus Syria. You have all these countries that are at odds with each other. There shall be famines and pestilences, and we know that, right now, that there are all kind of plagues breaking out over the earth, massive animal die-offs, massive fires that are raging through and burning up land, and earthquakes in diverse places. Right now, we have the state of Oklahoma as the state that has the most earthquake activity, not only in America but in the world. And if you were to say that 20 years ago that would, be something that would happen in 20 years, most people would probably laugh at you because Oklahoma has never been known for earthquakes. And matter of fact, being that that's a state I grew up in, I never ever felt an earthquake the whole time I lived in Oklahoma. But now Oklahoma is the earthquake capital of the world. So earthquakes in diverse places. We have tornadoes in the wintertime now, right? You have, and that's what Oklahoma was known for, is tornadoes. But now we have tornadoes, rampaging through the southern parts of America. Earthquakes, tornadoes in places in Europe, like places that you've never seen tornadoes before popping up. All of these things are unheard of, and these are all signs from the Creator, from the Heavenly Father, to the world that judgment is here. And if you are on the wrong side of the war, then you will meet your judgment. You will be taken out of this earth. That's what all of this is for. This is scourges for amendment. So when the Pope says that this may be the last Christmas for a lot of people, then what that is saying that within the next year, there's going to be a lot of things that are going to happen, a lot of changes that are going to take place that he is predicting. And it's very rare that we would agree with Pope says, but when he says things like that, and you see what's going on in the world today, it's not hard to imagine that could not happen because for a lot of us, we've been watching Bible prophecy for a long time. So this is years and decades in the making that we've been prophesying and telling the world what was to come in the earth. And also the fact that we're going into Obama's last year as a president, and that we as a church have always taken the stand that Obama will be the last president of America. And if that is the case, then we know that there's going to be a lot of events that will take place over the next year to ensure that he remains in office past his second term. Right? So when you look at everything that's happened this year and going into 2016, the things that are foreseen to happen, including World War III, including a financial collapse, all of these things are leading to the mark of the beast, right? And 3 world wars. And within his 3 world wars, he said that the last world war, basically what would end up happening is that they would bring Lucifer out of the dark and into the light and show people that they've been worshiping Lucifer, to show Christians that Christians have been worshiping Lucifer this whole time, that they've been deceived in a lot of things that they do. So when the Pope says that Christmas is a charade, he is in a way telling you that Christmas is not something that has to do with what you think it has to do with. And going back to Albert Pike, the fact that he said that they would bring Lucifer out to show the whole world they've been worshiping Lucifer this whole time. You have the movie that's come out called Krampus, the Christmas devil, right? So they are bringing out Lucifer every way they can in these movies and these TV shows. They're showing the world that this whole time you've been deceived. You've actually been following and worshiping Lucifer. Because if the Word of God does not say what we, if it's something that it's not telling us that we should do, we have to question the origin and the history of whatever it is that they're giving us and giving the world. And you see a majority of the world worshiping and doing certain things like celebrating Christmas, right? And, the crazy thing I was thinking earlier was that even in Muslim countries, they're celebrating Christmas. You get to ask yourself, if Christmas really had to do with Christ, And Muslims hate Christ, right? They really give Christ no respect. They don't believe in his baptism or anything like that. So if it really had to do with Christ, why would they be so heavily celebrating Christmas? Satanists celebrate Christmas, right? So Muslims, Christians, and Satanists can all get together on the same day and celebrate the same thing to show you that the world has been deceived. Satan's whole goal is to get praise. It's the reason why he was cast out of heaven, because he wanted to be praised and recognized as supreme over the Most High God. And when he was hurled to, before he was hurled to this earth, he was told to bow and give reverence to Adam, because Adam was made in the image of God, and Satan refused. He felt that I was made in the image of God. I was made before this creation. He should be bowing and recognizing me. So that's been Satan's whole goal this whole time, is to deceive you into worshiping him. And he's done a good job, because we've all been deceived into thinking and believing the lies that this world has taught us. But now the time has come for us to recognize the truth, to repent from the things that we have done in our ignorance, knowing that it was Satan the whole time deceiving us, and worship the Father. Now is the time for the true worshipers to come and worship the Father in spirit and truth, because God is a spirit, and those who worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. Right? So we have to worship him according to what the Bible says, and not according to what the world has given us with traditions and with religion. All right, so these are the things that the Pope is bringing out and saying in so many ways. And another thing is that to show you that something is about to change as well, something else to add in with this is that this is the first time in 33 years that Christmas has not happened in Washington, D.C. at the White House. Christmas has been canceled at the White House the first time in 33 years. I think Obama and his family is in Hawaii at the moment. And, of course, 33 is one of the esoteric Masonic numbers. So, and if anybody remembers the speech Obama gave, he said that he would win the war on Christmas. And I think that has so many layers and meanings to what he said, what he meant when he said that. But that's a point there. Also, we read in this article where it was speaking about the Pope. The Pope was Elon Musk was speaking about Mars, and that's another reason for all this Mars propaganda. They come out with the latest movie, Mission to Mars. In the past, they've come out with movies like Elysium and Interstellar. All of these movies to where trying to get off planet Earth, because planet Earth has become so devastated, so plague-ridden with diseases and destruction, and it's inhabitable. So we must now go out to the stars and live and find another planet to live on. And this is what Elon Musk was saying in this article. So that's the reason for a lot of the movies that they put out, is to program you into this propaganda that they're putting out about things, as such. But nonetheless, we are heading toward World War III, the collapse of the world economy, and which will lead to the mark of the beast. So let's go to our next article here, which ties in with the war. Right? This is on activistpost.com. The name of the article is the 239-year timeline of America's involvement in military conflict. America's been a country for 239 years, and basically what this article is sum up is that America has been at war almost the whole time it's been a country. December 18, 2015, it says here in quotes, "I should welcome almost any war, for I think this country needs one." That was a quote from President Theodore Roosevelt. It says, "The American public and the world have long since been warned of the dangers of allowing the military-industrial complex to become such an integral part of our economic survival. The United States is a self-proclaimed angel of democracy in the world. But just as George Orwell warned, war is the health of the state. And in the language of newspeak, democracy is the term we use to hide the reality of the nature of our warfare state. So basically, America puts itself up as this angel, this lamb, this perfection, and that it has the solution to the world's problem, which is democracy. And into this peace and democracy, America has only brought forth war in the earth. And that warfare is the primary priority of America's inception and existence. It says, in truth, the United States of America has been engaged in some kind of war during the 218 out of the nation's total 239 years of existence. Put another way, in the entire span of U.S. history, this country has only experienced 21 years without conflict. For a sense of perspective on this sobering statistic, consider these four facts about the history of U.S. involvement in military conflict. Pick any year since 1776, and there is about a 91% chance that America was involved in some war during that calendar year. No U.S. president truly qualifies as a peacetime president. Instead, all U.S. presidents can technically be considered war presidents. The U.S. has never gone a decade without war. The only time the U.S. went 5 years without war, 1935 to 1940, was during the isolationist period of the Great Depression. As the world moves closer and closer to an official beginning to World War III, and as many people are seeking opportunities to de-escalate the situation in the Middle East, it is important to realize that the U.S. state and the American people are simply not equipped or conditioned to pursue and realize peace. War is indeed the health of our state. Here is a year-by-year timeline of America's involvement in military conflict as compiled by Danios of LoonWatch.com. It is noted that this list is not exhaustive, but rather a compilation of events that fit the definition of war, excluding acts of genocide and ethnic cleansing such as were carried out against Native American populations during the establishment of the empire, and also excluding foreign interventions by America's covert security agencies such as the CIA. So let's examine that for a moment. Understanding that America was built on war, that it became a country based on war, that before you had the so-called American Revolution, that you had the Europeans' war on the Native Americans in America, and they exterminated and caused a genocide of millions and millions of Native American people, killing, raping the people in the land, stealing. And even after America was starting to form as a country, the wars continued to be waged on the Native American people because there were wars that extended all the way out to California until California was created and all Native American peoples were put on reservations. Every last so-called peace treaty for the Native American people ended in war. So we have to understand that when America says peace, it actually means war, that it tells you peace so that you'll let your guard down so that it can come in and bombard you with war. Right? Not to mention the over 100 million people that were killed during the transatlantic slave trade and the slave market, which helped to develop the stock market and the corporate infrastructure that we see today in America. So America was built on blood. America was built on war, and America has only pursued war ever since, and today still continues to pursue war. What country is next? Right now it's Syria, but then once Syria is no more a country, then America wants to go towards Iran, right? So this is their whole agenda, is to cause a World War III scenario, because they're looking at their population control mechanism of Agenda 21 to depopulate the world by 90%, which ties perfectly in what we read in Matthew 24 when Christ said that you will have wars and rumors of wars. These things must happen. These things are going to happen. This is judgment going to happen to this earth. And the wicked will judge the wicked. And then when Christ comes back, Christ will judge the wicked that are ruling in the earth upon his return. So the wicked are being used right now to take out those who are wicked. And it's only a remnant that's going to realize, understand this, and survive all of the great tribulation the greatest tribulation the world has ever seen that we're going into. Right now, it's just the beginning, but we are going into that greatest tribulation. So here is a year-by-year timeline of America's major wars. 1776, which is the year that they say that America was established and created as a country, all the way up until 2011. Right? It says 1776, American Revolutionary War, Chickamauga War, Second Cherokee War, Pennamite War. Right? So within that, you see a lot of wars on Native American people. 1777, American Revolutionary War, Chickamauga War, Second Cherokee War, Pennamite Yankee War. Right? So a lot of these wars last years. You know, the war in Afghanistan is the longest war America's ever been engaged in, 15 years. And it's still ongoing. They're still propping up in the media propaganda and reasons for them to be in Afghanistan, to be at war. So if you go all the way down to 1783, you have the American Revolutionary War, Chickamauga Wars, and the Pennamite Yankee War. And then in 84, the American Revolutionary War is over with, and you have the Chickamauga Wars, Pennamite Yankee War, Oconee War. And then from 85 to 90, actually to 94, you have the Chickamauga Wars and the Northwest Indian War. So how is it that America can be created as a country in 1776 saying all men are created equal, but yet be at war and killing off the native people of a land that they've come into and have taken over? Because this is what America does. It goes into lands, takes over lands, conquers the land, and stays there. This is their democracy. In 1795, Northwest Indian War. In 96 and 97, no major war. So it doesn't say that there wasn't any wars. It just says no major war. 98 to 1800, you had the Quasi War. From 1801 to 1805, you had the First Barbary War. 1806, Sabine Expedition. 1807 to 1809, no major war. 1810, U.S. occupied Spanish-held West Florida. 1811, Tecumseh's War. 1812, War of 1812, Tecumseh's War, Seminole Wars. U.S. occupied Spanish-held Amelia Island and other parts of East Florida. 1813, War of 1812, Tecumseh's War, Peoria War, Creek War. U.S. expands its territory in West Florida. 1814, War of 1812, Creek War. U.S. expands its territory in Florida, Anti-Piracy War. 1850, War of 1812, Second Barbary War, Anti-Piracy War. 1816 to 1818, First Seminole War, Anti-Piracy War. 1819 and 20, Yellowstone Expedition, Anti-Piracy War. 1821 and 22, Anti-Piracy War. 1823, Anti-Piracy War, Arikara War. 1824, Anti-Piracy. 25, Yellowstone Expedition, Anti-Piracy. 1826, No Major War. 1827, Winnebago War. 1828 through 1830, No Major War. 1831, Sac and Fox Indian War. 1832, Black Hawk War. 1833, Cherokee Indian War. 1834, Cherokee Indian War, Pawnee Indian Territory Campaign. And what people need to understand is a lot of people may not remember the history or have been taught history of how much war not only America was doing, but against the native people of the land, killing off all the tribes of the Native American Indians, who we know, according to the Bible, are part of the 12 tribes of Israel, the tribe of Gad. When Genesis 49 tells us that Gad, a troop, shall overcome him, but Gad will overcome at the end. Letting you know that our Native American brothers and sisters will rise through all of what they've, what's been waged on them. 1834, Cherokee Indian War, Pawnee Indian Territory Campaign. 35, Cherokee Indian War, Seminole War, Second Creek War. 1836, Cherokee Indian War, Seminole War, Second Creek War, Missouri-Iowa Border War. 1837, Cherokee Indian War, Seminole War, Second Creek War, Osage Indian War, Buckshot War. 1838, Cherokee Indian War, Seminole Wars, Buckshot War, Heatherly Indian War, or Heatherly Indian War. 39, Cherokee Indian War, Seminole Wars. 1840, Seminole Wars, U.S. Naval Forces invade Fiji Islands. 41, Seminole Wars, U.S. Naval Forces invade McKean Island, Gilbert Islands, and Samoa. 42, Seminole Wars. 43, U.S. Forces clash with Chinese. U.S. troops invade African coast. 44, 44 and 45, Texas Indian Wars. 46 through 48, you have the Mexican-American War, Texas Indian Wars, and in 48, you have the Cayuse War. So these aren't just years where they only had one war. They have multiple campaigns of war going on in multiple places, not only in America, but even outside of America, at war. 1849, Texas Indian Wars, Cayuse Wars, Southwest Indian Wars, Navajo Wars, skirmish between 1st Cavalry and Indians. 1850, Texas Indian Wars, Cayuse Wars, Southeast Indian Wars, Navajo Wars, Yuma War, California Indian Wars, Pitt River Expedition. 1851, Texas Indian Wars, Cayuse Wars, Southwest Indian Wars, Navajo Wars, Apache Wars, Yuma War, Utah Indian Wars, California Indian Wars. 1852, Texas Indian Wars, Cayuse Wars, Southwest Indian Wars, Navajo Wars, Yuma War, Utah Indian Wars, California Indian Wars. So it gets redundant. And for the sake of time, you'll have to come here yourself and read through all the wars that have happened, because we probably wouldn't be able to finish this broadcast. America's been at war so much. Because we're only in 1850, and we still haven't got to the 1900s yet, when you're dealing with World War I, World War II, Cold War, Korean War, Vietnam War, the Iraq War, War on Terror, War on Drugs, War. Everything is war with America, and we know that America instigates all of these wars. There would be no war on drugs, but the American government is shipping the drugs into the ghettos. They showed us that in the movie To Kill a Messenger that came out recently, based on a true story. They were going into Nicaragua and getting the drugs in Nicaragua and shipping them into the Southern California ghettos, and waging chemical warfare on black people in the ghetto. leading up to what? We got the war in Afghanistan, the war in Iraq, the war in Pakistan, the war in Yemen, the war in Libya, the war in Syria. Look at all of these places that America has waged war on. Are they better off? Or are they worse? So how is it America is able to get away with such atrocities? How is it America is able to do such war under the skies of peace and get away with it? Read the book of Revelation chapter 13. It tells us that the beast, who shall make war with the beast? Because the beast's job is to devour. The beast is an empire. So the American empire has been able to do this because it was prophesied that this country, America, would do the things that it has done to bring forth a outcome in this world history. And the reason why it's referred to as Babylon the Great, the daughter of Babylon in Bible prophecy. The reason why judgment is pending on this modern day Sodom and Gomorrah, this place that is now Supreme Court ruled that 50 states legislation now same-sex couples can be married, right? And recently you had the White House spokesman come out with stormtroopers. Everybody thought it was a ploy to advertise for the latest Star Wars movie, but America was actually showing you its true colors of the empire that it really is. Because even though those are glamorized and glorified stormtroopers, futurized that you see, what about the troops that you see whenever there's a riot and they come out with tanks in Baltimore, in Ferguson, in Chicago? Stormtroopers are here now. We have to just be able to read between the lines and connect the dots and see reality for what it really is, and stop putting a wig on a pig. Right? So in this war, and this is going to lead up to World War III, the reason why you see no de-escalation in the Middle East right now, America is saying Assad must go. But yet they say they're fighting ISIS, but their whole rhetoric is Assad must go. All right, so that's that on that article. All right, and speaking of the war, we spoke about the economic situation that's on the horizon. So that's going to take us to our next article. Our next article is on activistpost.com. 58 facts about the U.S. economy from 2015 that are almost too crazy to believe. December 24th, 2015. It says the world didn't completely fall apart in 2015, but it is undeniable that an immense amount of damage was done to the U.S. economy. This year, the middle class continued to deteriorate. More Americans than ever found themselves living in poverty. And the debt bubble that we are living in expanded to absolutely ridiculous proportions. Toward the end of the year, a new global financial crisis erupted, and it threatens to completely spiral out of control as we enter 2016. And I just want to interject here, because you had a couple weeks ago, as we get close to the end of the year, the Fed came out and raised interest rates. And they said in 2016 there's going to be a more raising of those rates over certain periods of time. They're going to continue to keep raising rates, which is all by design, because it will give you the sense of when the economy collapses that they never should have raised those rates, that it actually led to this collapse that we're about to witness. It says here, over the past 6 months, I have been repeatedly stressing to my readers that so many of the exact same patterns that immediately preceded the financial crisis of 2008 are happening once again, and trillions of dollars of stock market wealth has already been wiped out globally. Some of the largest economies on the entire planet, such as Brazil and Canada, have already plunged into deep recessions. And just about every leading indicator that you can think of is screaming that the U.S. is heading into one. So don't be fooled by all the happy talk coming from Barack Obama and the mainstream media. When you look at the cold, hard numbers, they tell a completely different story. The following are 58 facts about the U.S. economy from 2015 that are almost too crazy to believe. Number one, these days most Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. At this point, 62% of all Americans have less than $1,000 in their savings accounts, and 21% of all Americans do not have a savings account at all. Number two, the lack of saving is especially dramatic when you look at Americans under the age of 55. Incredibly fewer, 10% of all millennials, 16% of those that belong to Generation X have $10,000 or more saved up. Number three, it has been estimated that 43% of all American households spend more money than they make each month. Number four, for the first time ever, middle-class Americans now make up a minority of the population. But back in 1971, 61% of all Americans lived in middle-class households. Number five, according to the Pew Research Center, the median income of middle-class households declined by 4% from 2000 to 2014. Number six, the Pew Research Center has also found that median wealth for middle-class households dropped by an astounding 28% between 2001 and 2013. Number seven, in 1970, the middle class took home approximately 62% of all income. Today, that number has plummeted to just 43%. Number eight, there are still 900,000 fewer middle-class jobs in America than there were when the last recession began, but our population has gotten significantly larger since that time. Number nine, according to the Social Security Administration, 51% of all American workers make less than $30,000 a year. Number 10, for the poorest 20% of all Americans, median household wealth declines from negative $905 in 2000 to negative $6,029 in 2011. Number 11, a recent nationwide survey discovered that 48% of all U.S. adults under the age of 30 believe that the American dream is dead. Number 12, since hitting a peak of 69.2% in 2004, the rate of home ownership in the United States has been steadily declining every single year. Number 13, at this point, the U.S. only ranks 19th in the world when it comes to median wealth per adult. Number 14, traditionally, entrepreneurship has been one of the primary engines that has fueled the growth of the middle class in the U.S., but today the level of entrepreneurship in this country is sitting at an all-time low. Number 15, for each of the past 6 years, more businesses have closed in the United States than have opened. Prior to 2008, this has never happened before in all of U.S. history. Number 16, if you can believe it, the 20 wealthiest people in this country now have more than the poorest 152 million Americans combined. So the 20 wealthiest people in America have more money than 152 million of the poorest Americans combined. Number 17, the top 0.1% of all American families have about as much wealth as the bottom 90% of all American families combined. If you have no debt and you also have $10 in your pocket, that gives you a greater net worth than about 25% of all Americans. Number 19, the number of Americans that are living in concentrated areas of high poverty has doubled since the year 2000. And that's their goal, get you into these cities, which they're now looking to call and create smart cities so that you can be dependent of the state, totally dependent upon the government and these corporations. Number 20, an astounding 48.8% of all 25-year-old Americans still live at home with their parents. Number 21, according to the U.S. Census Bureau, 49% of all Americans now live in a home that receives money from the government each month, and nearly 47 million Americans are living in poverty right now. So while America is going out across the world and waging more wars and spending more billions and billions of dollars in war, you have people in America that are starving in poverty and are homeless. Just like Sodom and Gomorrah. The homelessness that people aren't aware of that was going on. It wasn't just sodomy. going on in Sodom and Gomorrah. You had homelessness, where it was against the law to feed the homeless in Sodom and Gomorrah. Number 22. In 2007, about 1 out of every 8 children in America was on food stamps. Today, that number is 1 out of every 5. Number 23. According to Catherine J. Eden and H. Luke Schaefer, the authors of a new book entitled $2 a Day Living on Almost Nothing in America, there are 1.5 million ultra-poor households in the U.S. that live on less than $2 a day. That number has doubled since 1996. Number 24. 46 million Americans use food banks each year, and lines are forming at some U.S. food banks as early as 6:30 in the morning because people want to get something before the food supplies run out. Number 25. The number of homeless children in the U.S. has increased by 60% over the past 6 years. According to Poverty USA, 1.6 million American children slept in a homeless shelter or some other form of emergency housing last year. Number 27, police in New York City have identified 80 separate homeless encampments in the city, and the homeless crisis there has gotten so bad that it is being described as an epidemic. Number 28, if you can believe it, more than half of all students in our public schools are poor enough to qualify for school lunch subsidies. Number 29, according to a Census Bureau report that was released a while back, 65% of all children in the U.S. are living in a home that receives some form of aid from the federal government. Number 30, according to a report that was published by UNICEF, almost 1/3 of all children in this country live in households with an income below 60% of the national median income. Number 31, when it comes to child poverty, the U.S. ranks 36 out of the 41 wealthy nations that UNICEF looked at. Number 32, an astounding 45% of all American children in the U.S. live in areas of concentrated poverty. 33, 40.9% of all children in the U.S. that are being raised by a single parent are living in poverty. 34, there are 7.9 million working age Americans that are officially unemployed right now, and another 94.4 million working age Americans that are considered to be not in the labor force. When you add those two numbers together, you get a grand total of 102.3 million working age Americans that do not have a job right now. According to a recent Pew survey, approximately 70% of all Americans believe that debt is a necessity in their lives. And we'll talk more about the debt at the end of this article. 36, 53% of all Americans do not have a minimum 3-day supply of non-perishable food and water at home. 37, according to John Williams of shadowstats.com, if the U.S. government was actually using honest numbers, the unemployment rate in this nation would be 22.9%. Back in 1950, more than 80% of all men in the U.S. had jobs. Today, only about 65% of all men in the U.S. have jobs. 39, the labor force participation rate for men has plunged to the lowest level ever recorded. 40, wholesale sales in the U.S. have fallen to the lowest level since the last recession. 41, the inventory to sales ratio has risen to the highest level since the last recession. This means that there is a whole lot of unsold inventory that is just sitting around out there and not selling. 42, the ISM manufacturing index has fallen for 5 months in a row. 43, orders for core durable goods have fallen for 10 months in a row. 44, since March, the amount of stuff being shipped by truck, rail, and air inside the U.S. has been falling every single month on a year-over-year basis. 45, Walmart is projecting that its earnings may fall by as much as 12% during the next fiscal year. 46, the Business Roundtable's forecast for business investments in 2016 has dropped to the lowest level that we have seen since the last recession. 47, corporate debt defaults have risen to the highest level that we have seen since the last recession. This is a huge problem because corporate debt in the U.S. has approximately doubled since just before the last financial crisis. 48, holiday sales have gone negative for the first time since the last recession. 49, the velocity of money in the U.S. has dropped to the lowest level ever recorded. Not even during the depths of the last recession was it ever this low. Barack Obama promised that his program would result in a decline in health insurance premiums by as much as $2,500 per family. But in reality, average family premiums have increased by a total of $4,865 since 2008. Right, so Obama promised that health insurance would drop. It's risen. So something to take from that is whatever they say, expect the opposite. 51. Today, the average U.S. household that has at least one credit card has approximately $15,950 in credit card debt. 52. The number of auto loans that exceed 72 months has hit an all-time high of 29.5%. 53. According to Dr. Housing Bubble, there have been nearly 8 million homes lost to foreclosure since the home ownership rate peaked in 2004. Number 54. One very disturbing study found that approximately 41% of all working-age Americans either currently have medical bill problems or are paying off medical debt. And collection agencies seek to collect unpaid medical bills from about 30 million of us each and every year. 55. The total amount of student loan debt in the U.S. has risen to a whopping $1.2 trillion. If you can believe it, that total has more than doubled over the past decade. 56. Right now, there are approximately 40 million Americans that are paying off student loan debt. For many of them, they will keep making payments on this debt until they are senior citizens. 57. When you do the math, the federal government is stealing more than $100 million from future generations of Americans every single hour of every single day. 58. An astounding $8.16 trillion has already been added to the U.S. national debt while Barack Obama has been in the White House. That means that it is already guaranteed that we will add an average of more than $1 trillion a year to the debt during his presidency, and we still have more than a year left to go. What we have seen so far is just a very small tip of a very large iceberg. About 6 months ago, I stated that our problems will only be just beginning as we enter 2016, and I stand by that prediction. We are in the midst of a long-term economic collapse that is beginning to accelerate once again. Our economic infrastructure has been gutted. Our middle class is being destroyed. Wall Street has been transformed into the biggest casino in the history of the planet. And our reckless politicians have piled up the biggest mountain of debt the world has ever seen. Anyone that believes that everything is perfectly fine and that we are going to come out of this stronger than ever is just being delusional. This generation was handed the keys to the finest economic machine of all time, and we wrecked it. Decades of incredibly foolish decisions have culminated in a crisis that is now reaching a crescendo, and this nation is in for a shaking unlike anything that it has ever seen before. So enjoy the rest of 2015 while you still can. 2016 is almost here, and it is going to be quite a year. All right, so that's quite astounding, to say the least, to what's going on economically, socio-economically in America. And it doesn't even go into the account that the only reason America has a lot of what it has is because of the endless amount of debt that people are allowed to accumulate to have substance. If you take away the credit cards, take away the housing loans, you take away the auto loans, the student loans, you take away the fact that America has a printing press where it could just print money and keep printing money and keep printing money, unlike other countries. And then the fact that people can buy things with no money at all, whereas in most countries you had to have the money outright to be able to buy a lot of things. You can't, there is no credit. What would America have? America would be one of the poorest countries in the earth. So it's through America's economic engine, the economic machine that America is, with the petrodollar being the world reserve currency, the fact that it promotes war, and uses the military-industrial complex to go out and conquer lands and take over lands and use that engine to further fuel the American economy is the only reason why America is in the condition and state that it is in, even though it's very delicate. Take all that away, America is nothing. And it's about to be taken away. The rug is about to be pulled from under the feet of Americans. And again, once again, all of this of what we're reading is leading up to the mark of the beast. That's what all this is coming down to, where no man will be able to buy or sell lest he that have the mark. Because once the economic system collapses, there'll be no more paper money. All money has already become digitized. How many people are actually taking out money, dollars, coins, and spending it in America? People are pulling out plastic, pulling out checkbooks, right? So what we're going to do is go to a quick advertisement and come back and finish off segment one with a couple more articles. So stay tuned while we play this this quick advert, and we'll be right back.
Shalom, brothers and sisters at GOCC. This is Pastor Truman Burst, Master Herbalist, for over 50 years, helping all GOCC members, always at no charge, answering your questions about natural remedies and health. We're getting great results. Give us a call at 541-981-2520. 541-981-2520. Email Truman@healthherbs.com. TRUMAN at HEALTHHERBS.com. Skype is Master Herbalist. Ustream is Truman the Herbalist. In Jesus Christ's name I pray, faithfully praising the Most High. Amen.
If you have serious health challenges or just want a full body tune-up, then pay a visit to barakapah-naturally.org. Barakapah means bless and heal in Hebrew, and this is exactly what our holistic natural approach to health will do for you. Your body has been designed by the Most High to correct and heal even the most severe illnesses using full body cleansing and detox protocols in combination with whole foods, herbs, natural supplements, pure drinking water, and a stress-reducing lifestyle, positive thoughts, and prayer. We use tried and tested natural methods to identify and address any health challenge, using a simple, easy-to-follow, personalized health program designed specifically for you. We can offer an initial 1-hour health session followed by a full 28-day follow-up plan, which includes support by email, Skype, or telephone. Further ongoing support is available as required to assist you on your health journey. We can provide you with a health and lifestyle education that will position you on the road to excellent health. So if you've tried all the hype, medicines, doctors, and drugs, and failed to get the results you need, it's time to do something different. Why not use a proven natural healing program that has provided great results for many that have used it? We're not here to sell you supplements. We're here to show you how to get your health back and keep it. Go to barakapahnaturally.org, spelled www.BARAKPAH-naturally, NATURALLY.org.
All right, Shabbat Shalom, we're back. And got a couple more articles here before we wrap up segment one, being that we were just speaking about the economic situation. And what we have to understand, brothers and sisters, is that all of this is by design. This is nothing that is happening by chance. That the ruling power structure that is in place, the scriptures refer to them in Ephesians 6 and 12 as the rulers of darkness of this world, those who are under Satan, getting their direct orders from Satan, have been doing this meticulously for centuries, leading up to the point to where we're at, using America as its workhorse to create this goal of a military power and an economic power in the earth, to where they can control and bring the world into what they refer to as their new world order. So going into our next article here, off of shtfplan.com, it says, Fall of the American Empire. They intend to collapse the financial system. December 18th, 2015. It says 2 weeks the mob had been rioting uncontrolled in the streets. The economy of the greatest empire that the world had ever seen was coming apart like an unraveling sweater. The cost of maintaining gigantic armed forces was bleeding the nation white. And in addition, there were the heavy subsidies that had to be paid to the nation's dependent for support. The impoverished government had neither the funds nor the power to stop the riots. Readers, are we close to such a point? It happened, for the excerpt above was taken from the book Those About to Die by Daniel P. Mannix, written in 1958, and the nation was the Roman Empire. There are many similarities between the decline and fall of Rome and the decline of the United States of America, standing upon the threshold of its fall. As you well know, the economy is stretched to its breaking point, and the American empire has overextended itself, much in the manner of the now defunct Roman Empire. As with Rome, the United States has experienced a severe influx of illegal aliens, encouraging immigration by individuals who, most of them, come to the U.S. not to contribute but to consume, or even worse, to conquer as a fifth column. The conquest, especially for illegal aliens crossing the border illegally from Central and South America, is actually seen as such a retaking of Aztlan, alleged land in the U.S. these aliens claim historically as their own. The whole process, called La Reconquista, or the Reconquest. The Roman Empire had done this in a manner. Quote, throughout its history, the Roman Empire had taken in outsiders, a constant stream of individuals looking to make their fortune, supplemented by large-scale migrations. This is The Fall of the Roman Empire by Peter Heather, page 159. Multiculturalism, as is very evident in Europe, the latest being Norway, paying Norwegian individuals up to $9,800 to pack up and leave, is currently tearing the countries of Europe apart. France, Germany, Sweden, and Britain, among others. Individuals that do not speak the native language maintain their cultures of origin without assimilating, and they end up on their public dole. Here in the U.S., this is a direct extension of Cloward Piven, to be able to reduce the populace to one that is completely dependent upon the government for all support. Ancient Rome had the daily bread dole and heavy subsidies for Roman workers who could not compete with the cheaper goods from foreign labor and imports. And our fiat monetary system is about to collapse. Dave Hodges recently put out an article entitled, Key Bankers Told Bank Holiday is Near. Read this before taking money out of the bank. And this article reveals that the bankers are preparing for widespread banking failure. Such preparations have included dry runs in conjunction with FEMA and DHS. The bankers held a secret meeting in Albuquerque, New Mexico, where the participants signed non-disclosure statements in a manner right out of Solzhenitsyn's Gulag Archipelago 1. If these bankers violate them and leak information, all of their property will be confiscated, and they will proceed directly to Fort Leavenworth, Kansas, for a 25-year sentence at hard labor. In the manner of ancient Rome, corruption is rampant in the economy and in all sectors of government leadership to enable such a thing to transpire. A report is in circulation that even precious metals vendors are worse than the banks themselves. For every 325 ounces sold on paper, the report has it only one physical ounce is in the possession of the company selling the gold. This is paralleled by our own crooked Federal Reserve System. A few years ago, Sheila Blair, the CEO of the FDIC, revealed that depositors were insured up to the $50 billion. Ms. Bayer neglected to mention that bank accounts totaled $1 trillion in deposits. Fractional reserve banking allowed the financial institutions to lend out $5 for every $1 taken in. A casino is more honest. They actually have the money to pay you, and you're actually allowed to cash in your chips without a suspicious activity report being filed. For those of you waiting for acknowledgement of it, yes, all of this ties in with the globalist oligarchs intentionally collapsing the system to be able to enable the downfall of the U.S. and the transformation into a global government with them at the head. Interesting to watch is the situation developing in Ukraine, where the Ukrainian military has agreed to take part in NATO exercises in Poland as a member nation. It is a fact that the current Ukrainian government is a puppet created by the U.S. State Department and the administration by the U.S.-sponsored coup d'etat and the ousting of Yanukovych. None of this could have been accomplished by the U.S. without the support and go-ahead of the IMF and the banking oligarchs from the Western nations. We will see what this will cause, as this is a direct provocation to Russia, who has declared that it will not allow a NATO takeover of Ukraine. From a military or economic perspective, domestically, the secret meetings and backroom deals between the major too big to fail, but not too big to fleece the U.S. taxpayer to bail out financial institutions clearly points to an event on the horizon where they intend to directly or indirectly collapse the financial system. The criminal Federal Reserve has raised interest rates. As the phony employment numbers and fake recovery statistics are glowingly embellished and parroted by the mainstream media whose lips kiss every administration, the masters of the press. Pure common sense dictates that our economy, as with ancient Rome's, is coming apart at the seams, sped along by those whose only interests are of power and the promulgation of power. To summarize, I utilize the aforementioned work of Mr. Peter Heather with his closing words. By virtue of its unbound aggression, Roman imperialism was ultimately responsible for its own destruction. The United States has followed in this way. Its officials are corrupt and the population is morally defunct and self-serving in the majority. A new time of the dark ages is upon us, and the saddest thing of it all is that we have brought it upon ourselves. By complacency or by direct actions, each of us has brought it upon ourselves. May God help us all and our country to not go the entire path of ancient Rome. Right? So when you look at America, America is the new Roman Empire. It is the revived Roman Empire. And just Rome, America is in its decline. As we know, Revelation 18 tells us Babylon the Great is fallen. And it's amazing of the sorcery that those who control America, the power of sorcery that they have to put people in this dystopia sensationalist mind, this false reality mind state to where you can be operating in a failed, collapsing society and not even be able to realize it, because they've created this social this social matrix, this social construct through narcissism, to where everybody's been enveloped within their own bubble, and through social media and through all of the things that would make one selfish, that only thing that matters is what's going on within that bubble of each individual. People have created their own reality. People have created their own worlds. And it's all about them, to where you can go on Facebook or Instagram or any of these social media platforms and this has become the social communication for American people, to where people don't even socially communicate anymore face to face. It's all done through technology. People have been absorbed into the Borg, and and everybody is divided. So, this is the calm before the storm, because once it's shown what's really going on in America, then the people will realize it. Then it will be just like ancient Rome. It will be total chaos and pandemonium in the streets of America. And of course, we know that it will go worldwide. But of course, in the rest of the world, people are used to living life a certain type of way, where American people are that they have been forever spoiled and given into their lusts and all the things that their heart desire. The reason why it's called the land of the free, because you're free to live in sin and commit as much sin as you like. And and this is what's created this false delusional state of mind. So when this false state of delusional mind is no more, and the bubbles that each individual are living in is popped, and you're now outside of your bubble and you can see what's really going on around you, it'll be like nothing the world has ever seen, because America is the greatest empire the world has ever seen. So therefore, it's going to have the greatest fall when it falls. And again, this is by their design. So these are the economic and physical indicators with what's going on in America. But now let's examine let's examine the spiritual, morality standpoint of America, which takes us to our last article, which comes off of watchmanscry.com. It says here, Babylon America, the road ahead, changes and confusion. December 3rd, 2015. Over the past few months on our program, we have been talking about how America is morphing into the end-time creature mystery Babylon. By examining the prophecies that are found in the scriptures, we have been able to obtain an outline of what America is going to experience in her future. This is not easy. Probing into America's coming fate first requires a willingness to read the diagnosis and face the verdict. If perchance your theology opposes the possibility that America could be Babylon, please take to consider the likelihood. I present this information for the student who understands that the prophecies could play out in a manner that is different from the popular philosophies of men. Having this knowledge can be beneficial because it offers another option for one to anticipate. From the standpoint of this watchman, I present this viewpoint because at this time in my research, the nation of America is in the process of turning into the defiled end-time organism, harlot Babylon. And beyond mere suspicion, it is obvious. The U.S. is visibly in the midst of great change. These changes are not minor cultural adjustments, neither are they trivial. They are occurring in multiple dimensions, in the natural as well as the spiritual. In the natural, America's present course can only be defined as a constitutional crisis. This is not just an opinion. Based on recent political events, America has exhibited her inability to continue as a free republic. She has now become a fascist state governed by corporations, bankers, and thieves. The poster boy at the helm is Lightning Bolt Obama, and his health mandate will play its role as the scalpel that decapitates America. Unfortunately, it will be death that is administered by 1,000 cuts. And just to interject here, the health mandate that will play its role as the scalpel that decapitates America, in that health mandate, which is called Obamacare, is the mark of the beast. So people really don't understand the dynamics of Obamacare, but of course, the mark of the beast, but there are so many things that are slowly breaking down life and things as we know from a political standpoint with Obamacare. But it will ultimately be that which is required mandatorily, which will be used to start the implementation of the mark of the beast, which will eventually be worldwide. It says, imagine that, folks, a nation beheaded by a scalpel. A sword could have been quicker, but that would have been too obvious. Suspect Zero is a very sneaky man, and the glimmer of his Muslim scimitar was too much suspension among his subjects. So instead, he has chosen to dismember America with an old infected scalpel. Uncle Sam better get a tetanus shot. And this is the method that they've been working on for so long with America, that they've created America for a goal, that America has served its purpose. And through the decades, they have been systematically but slowly bringing the pot to a boil to cook America. They could not do it overnight. They had to do it over a period of time. Executive order by executive order, bill after bill, war after war, economic crisis after economic crisis. It says here, but then again, he probably would not be able to afford the insurance or understand the policy. Confused. By the way, how many of you are confused about it? Guess what? It is supposed to be confusing. That's what Babylon means, confusion. As I look around, I am seeing a lot of it. Confused people, confused politicians, confusing laws. During his campaign, Mr. O should have placed that word on his placard. Confusion. But as I said, he is sneaky. And besides, many of his constituents can't read and probably would never have been able to comprehend the word if it had been on their campaign poster. And thus, the nation fell by the dumbing down of America. It was a part of the great gift exchange where the minions gave up their literacy for trinkets and a cell phone, and then became the faithful and loyal subjects to the sheriff of Confusionville. My people perish for a lack of knowledge, Hosea 4:6. Ladies and gentlemen, did you ever think that you would live to see this day? Is it too late to ask for a refund or make a suggestion? I wonder how long it will be when those who make a suggestion will get an extended leave of absence in Camp FEMA. Oops, did I say it out loud? Psalms 91, folks. But this is where we are. America is changing, and these changes are defying gravity. They're defying logic. In the past, many people used to downplay America's downward course by suggesting that it could be stopped. If only the nation would repent. If only. If only has not happened, has it, folks? Could it? Sure. Will it? I doubt it. The dark syrup of evil that slimed the country has become too thick. And it also appears that too many people have become infected with the IDC virus. What's that? It is the deadly strain of a spiritual I don't care virus. When it infects a person, it lobotomizes. When it infects a person, it lobotomizes them with a pathetic attitude of disregard, disbelief, and complacency. It makes them not care about the present course of America or even of their own spiritual condition. Is there a vaccine? Yes. It's called hard work and repentance. But these things require seeking after the truth and dealing with reality. But who wants to accept the verdict that America has exceeded her heavenly grace period and is now in spiritual default? How many will be motivated to repent? Will they repent? Sadly, I do not see this happening, at least not on a national level, and thus the verdict remains, and so will the outcome. Because according to what can be read in the Bible. Most people do not repent until after they experience a terrible catastrophe. Old Testament Israel was very familiar with this cycle. Repeatedly, it took the judgment of God to motivate their repentance. But sadly, their motivation was seasoned with grief, sorrow, and a body count. Their doom would have been prevented if only they had listened to the prophets who tried to warn them. But they were too busy having fun. Thus, their judgment was not stopped. In the same way, America will experience similar things. And just like Israel, most would not want to listen. And thus, the judgment will not be stopped. What now? So, what are we to do now? What will the judgment mean, and how are we supposed to prepare for it? We need to become educated, motivated, and situated, but that is not easy. Nevertheless, this must be done if we desire to have an understanding about the roadmap that lies ahead. The roadmap of end-time prophecy is not just about the future, because what was once approaching in the future is now arriving in the present. End-time prophecy is occurring before our eyes. Some people can see it, most people don't. But we need to have a solid understanding of the end times because it is going to affect all of us. No one will be immune. No one will get a free pass to sit this one out. Ladies and gentlemen, future history is now at our door, and it is about to burst through the threshold with a sledgehammer of reality. As residents of Earth, everyone will participate. The question is, to what level of intensity? It is my firm belief that as Christians, we must have as much knowledge about the coming episodes that we can deal with them in a healthy manner. As we look at the present political landscape, it is apparent that the fuse of destruction has already been lit. The sparks are traveling down the fiery cord, and they are headed towards a matrix of volatile containers which will erupt into an explosion that will set nation USA ablaze. In the past, people used to ask, I wonder if the fuse will ignite. But now the new question is, can the lit fuse be extinguished? The opening salvos. There are several fuses that are lit right now. Number 1, racial tension. Number 2, angry veterans. Number 3, angry patriots. Number 4, people threaten losing entitlements, for example, EBT food stamps, unemployment benefits, etc. Number 5, a dollar collapse. Number 6, war. Number 7, political upheaval and revolt. And many others. I am praying for more time, but realistically, this country has exceeded her grace period. Don't believe me? Look around. One does not need to gaze very far to see that this place has become too gay, too slutty, and too pathetic. Based on the recent antics of the EBT fiasco a few days ago and the actions of several communities who took advantage of their food stamp debit cards, we can see that the land is full of thieves who swarm like animals when the situation arises. Are my words harsh, or are they the truth? Are you offended? Do you object? I'll tell you what's objectionable. Your children watching the vile Miley Cyrus slither her demon-possessed carcass across your flat-screen TV. And here's something even more tragic. Papa Cyrus recently said on Twitter that as long as his little girl Miley is happy, that is all that matters. On a recent interview, he said, I'm a singer, songwriter, and I'm her daddy. She's just Miley. She's an artist. She's real. Nice going, Billy Ray. Your neutered parental influence is ensuring that you are going to have an achy-breaky heart when you and your daughter are burning in hell. Welcome to Babylon, America, Satan's playground of the new millennium. The Bible calls her the great harlot. How precise this description is when we observe the abominable spirit of vile sexuality that has slimed nation USA and her maidens. And it appears that there is no shortage of defiled ones to be on the poster. Sorry for having to be blunt, but Miley Cyrus is an embarrassment to our society and is causing many impressionable young girls to stumble. And that slithering tongue reveals that she is infested with demons. Folks, our society is broken, and the person above is the barometer of how low we have come. This nonsense should bother everyone who calls themselves a Christian. Are you still with me? The diagnosis of village USA is dreadful. People wonder why I do this ministry. They wonder if I am serious. My friends, it is time that all of us got a little more serious. America is in a serious mess, and the approaching future is going to be very serious, and it is going to create mayhem for the entire world. The foundations are broken. America is dying. The cracks are forming in her foundation, and the wise ones know the peril that awaits her. My friend, are you wise to these things? Are you trying to be, or are you a part of the hypnotized herd being led about by one of the dangling gifts regime? I hope not. This is why having an understanding about America's present course is so vital. We must have a solid understanding of what is coming so that we can deal with it as it arrives, so that we will not fall for any of the deceptive lies. There are many pieces to the puzzle. To find them, it is very important that we examine them through several perspectives: the natural perspective, the spiritual perspective, through Bible prophecy. This multifaceted approach is key. If one expects to find answers about these matters and to discover them, we must also ask the correct questions. Hard questions. Since this topic about America turning into Babylon, there are a few things that I wonder about. Number one, if America is Babylon, what will this mean for America? Two, what changes will she go through, and will we be able to observe them? Three, how long will the changes take? Four, how will these changes affect us and our loved ones? Five, how dark is it going to become? Six, while it is happening, will people know that it is happening? Seven, what atmosphere will God's people be faced with? Eight, will betrayal be commonplace? Nine, what kind of persecution will we face? Many questions. How many of you would like to know the answers? I would. As I asked in the questions above, we must digest the ramifications of America's metamorphosis because, again, we are going to feel the impact of the changes. I find it disturbing that these changes are happening now. I have children, and it grieves me that these changes are going to manifest in their future. As America morphs into the mysterious creature Babylon, she is going to enact many policy changes. As they occur, it will tighten the noose of freedom and usher in a new age of tyranny. Land of the free, R.I.P. One of the challenges in observing all the things is that while America is shape-shifting into her new identity, the USA is also undergoing a divine judgment. We've been talking about these judgment events for years. I have been observing that when a divine judgment occurs in a nation, it plays out in a variety of ways. It is represented in the landscape of the country, in the lives of the people, and also through the direction of national policy. So, folks, as I share these things, please know that the purpose of this message is not to be scary. My motives are simple: to challenge, to inform, and to notify everyone, because everyone needs to get their hearts right with God. Having our hearts aligned with God is foundational to weather the days ahead. Obama promised to bring change. He kept that promise. The changes are arriving, but they are not what most people expected. As they arrive, they will implode America into a pile of rubbish and fire. And out of the ashes, as revealed at the Summer Olympic ceremony, the phoenix is going to rise like a rocket's red glare. A red glare bursting in air, and eventually a new flag will wave. But the question is, what color will this flag be? What will it look like? And how many former Americans will wave it? Indeed, ladies and gentlemen, indeed. God bless you, and may He have mercy on all of us. All right, and that's off the Watchman's Cry, watchmanscry.com. And, of course, we've gone over the many prophetic scriptures concerning America being the Babylon spoken of in future prophecy, from Revelation 17, Revelations 18, Jeremiah 50, Jeremiah 51, Isaiah 13, Psalms 137, Isaiah 47, right? So for those who have ears to hear, eyes to see, will be wise and do exploits and instruct the people. Many shall be purified and made white. The wise will understand, but the wicked shall not understand and do wickedly. So we are in the days of Noah. So those who are wicked will continue to live in the wickedness of their sins. Those who are wise will repent, put down whatever sin they're dealing with, and get themselves prepared and ready for what is on the horizon, which the scriptures call the greatest tribulation the world has ever seen. And we know America is the beginning of that great judgment. All right, so that's it on segment